wow.
Yeah.
Like what happened?
Welcome to episode 11 of Rockstar CMO FM. The M is for marketing, the F is for, well, you decide, as this is yet another effing marketing podcast. I'm your host, Ian Truscott, founding editor of Rockstar CMO, your monthly dose of marketing street knowledge. You can find us at rockstarcmo.com or at rockstarcmo on Twitter or LinkedIn. This episode was recorded on Friday the 22nd of May, and I was delighted to learn that this podcast has been listened to in over 20 countries. So I'm not sure where you are in the crisis, but here in London, as far as we are concerned, if the bars and restaurants are shut, we are locked down. So while we all pine for the pub, thank you for choosing us to keep you company. In this episode, I'll flick through the latest issue of Rockstar CMO and take a look at an article I think is worth a look at. I chat to experienced retail marketer and Photofy CEO John Andrews about employee-created content and what he thinks is the future of retail. And we again join my friend and content marketing guru Robert Rose for a cocktail and one thought from him. Let's get started, shall we? This week, as I flick through the pages of Rockstar CMO, I'm not going to talk about an article, but one of our regular features, the Backstage Q&A, which I'd like you to take a look at. It's pretty much why we do what we do, to share marketing street knowledge from those actually doing it. In our monthly publication, we've chatted to over 20 leading marketers and CMOs over the last 2 years. And through these light-hearted interviews, we've learned an awful lot about what the backstory is of a successful CMO. From karaoke, climbing Kilimanjaro, selling cigarettes in their playground to a former life as an opera singer, it's all there. At the same time, we've learned some really useful tips and techniques for success in the riskiest gig in the C-suite. You can find your Backstage pass at rockstarcmo.com/backstage, and I will, of course, include a link to this in the show notes. Right, so on to our interview this week. I'm chatting to John Andrews, CEO of Photofy, which, as we will learn in the conversation, is a mobile content creation platform used by enterprises and small businesses to scale up their influencer reach through their employees, and for individuals to up their social media game. John has a long career as a marketer, specifically in retail. I consider him my go-to retail guy, and as various theories swirl around about what post-COVID shopping might look like, I take the opportunity to ask what his predictions are for that. Hope you enjoy our conversation. So welcome, John, to Rockstar CMO FM. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thank you very much. I'm glad to be here through the magic of technology. That's great. I am John Andrews. I'm the current job is I'm the CEO of Photofy, which is a content creation platform for businesses to make employee created content. And I'm a lifetime marketer and have, I teach at our local university as an adjunct professor from time to time. And I tell my students, think about your career. Let me give you some insights. When I graduated from business school in 1997, right? Mm-hmm. Think about that date. That's not a long time ago, mm-hmm. right? The main marketing tools were TV, radio, and print, right? Maybe a little outdoor. There was no email. Email was something universities used, right? There was certainly no internet, and we had some mobile phones that were about as big as a brick back then. Mm-hmm. They were getting a little smaller. Yeah. That was it, right? And so think about in the span of the career of a marketer, and this is most industries, right? Yeah. But marketing, wow. Right? Like what happened? And my career is not over, right? Yeah. So there's more change coming, but and you just think about all of these things and tools that we had and how we've had to learn new tools and I'm a marketer and
you teach marketing.
and I teach marketing, I write about marketing, and I sometimes implement marketing.
Well, we certainly enjoy your point of view on Rockstar CMO. You mentioned there about ECC, employee created content. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Sure. So employee created content, I think, is a natural evolution of what's been going on. If you think about the past 10 to 15 years with influencer marketing. My business partner, Ted Rubin, likes to say, everyone influences someone. So it doesn't matter. If you're a parent, you influence your kids. If you're a member of your church, you may influence other person. Everyone does influence other people. And now most people, or a lot of people, use digital media in some form or another. You're on Facebook, you're making TikTok videos, you're sending text, it's all digital media. You're influencing people as you do that. You may be influencing them on where we're going to eat dinner tonight or whatever. And we've worked in influencer marketing since the 2007, 2008 timeframe, and watched that category grow. And what was always, kind of under the radar there is the biggest influencers for any company are the people that work there.
Oh, for sure.
Right?
Yeah.
Think about that. A lot of brands will spend lots of time thinking about how do we interact with these influencer marketers, but they've got these huge armies of influencers that already work for the company, right? And we're moving into a stage where, you think about people 25 and under, they create content to communicate.
Yeah.
And think especially, Snapchat and TikTok. My daughter's 14. This is how she communicates, right? It's weird to us because, this is this side picture of my head, and that's a piece of content.
Yeah, for
right?
Sure.
And we don't think about that as content as marketers, but they sure do, right? So I used to work for Walmart, and when I worked for Walmart in marketing back in the day, we had about 2.2 million employees at that time globally, between Walmart and Asda and all of Walmart's. So think about that. All of those people, most of those 2 million people, were influencing people on a daily basis by interacting with them in the store, right? And hey, where do I find this thing, or how do I return this, or do you know how to use this, or whatever, right? Now imagine just a portion of those people, 10%, 220,000 people, also creating content at their stores with at the local level. Imagine that as a layer in your marketing mix, in your marketing stack, or whatever people like to call all the things they do in marketing today. That would overwhelm any scale, engagement, reach of anything else you would do, right? And our thinking is add that to your mix. Right? It doesn't replace anything. It is additive and helps take branded content and extrapolate it through your employees' personal networks to their networks.
Yeah, I mean, it's the ultimate micro-influencer strategy, isn't it? I mean, even if they... I mean, you look at those 220,000 people, they just influence a few people each. That's amazing.
It's massive, and it ticks the box of a lot of things that digital media wants to do because of how it works algorithmically, right? Yeah. So, Google and Facebook and Amazon all really want to show you content that is relevant to you, right? I mean, that's the whole purpose of Google, right? One of the biggest, it is.
Yeah.
One of the biggest components of relevancy in most things is localization.
Yeah.
Right. When I wrote a post one time called "blank near me." Right. Yeah. If you type any word into a Google search bar, one of the suggested searches, the things that pop down on the bottom is pizza near me, sushi near me, movies near me, right? The reason is because that's what people are looking for. Google knows this, So we think that employee created content helps Walmart and Domino's Pizza and whoever, right? Really drive the efficacy of that search in ways that go beyond me just paying Google to do that.
No, I think it's a great strategy. And how does Photofy fit into that? And what's your story with them? You've been with them 5 years or so?
Yeah, I've been an advisor for Photofy since 2014, and became the CEO in late 2017. We were really moving to this model of helping enterprises with this process, with employee created content. And how we really fit in is we are just a very simple and easy to use tool for employees to create content using branded assets, right? We get compared often to folks like Canva and Adobe Spark.
All right.
And we appreciate that because I think it helps people frame what we do. Our big point of difference is we are not designed for designers.
Right.
We are not designed for marketers, right? We are for designers and marketers to give access to their creations to people who are not designers and not creatives to be able to create great looking content for their brand.
Right. So you're de-skilling it, just making it really easy.
Yeah. I mean, that's a hard, it's sort of a hard idea, I think, for people to get their heads around that, your marketing is now not just your marketing department.
Yeah.
But look how many companies finally embraced every CEO tweets now.
Yeah, right? That's true.
Whether you like our president or you don't, he shows the efficacy of Twitter.
Yeah,
right?
He does.
He shows that the Twitter is the ultimate. Let's go talk to people right now, about whatever I'm thinking about. And CEOs, most CEOs tweet a lot of why would you not have the people closest to your customer creating content as well? And I think most people are getting their heads around that. We see a real movement towards employee created content. It was really driven by our first enterprise customers were direct selling companies.
Right.
So folks like Arbonne and Cincy and Norwex. And, they really understood the value of personal relationships early because that's how they run their business.
Yeah.
If I'm an Arbonne rep, my business depends on me interacting with my personal network.
Yeah.
When social and digital really began to grow, they're like, oh, well, of course.
Yeah.
This is how you do it, right?
Yeah.
And now we see that mentality really growing as every business is, I think, realizing, if I'm a local Domino's Pizza franchisee, right?
Yeah.
Domino's is doing a great job at the top level with TV ads and probably digital. They're managing search and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But Domino's in Michigan, their corporate in Michigan, does not know that my daughter's school won the state championship in football. Right? Me as the local franchisee knows this.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And I can leverage content to be relevant to my shopper using assets that help my brand look consistent too.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
No, absolutely. And I also think that some of the best brands, and certainly in the space I tend to work in, marketing technology, where you see engaged employees is also good for hiring, right? Because you create this tribe of people, don't you? And people want to join that tribe.
Yeah, I think you're right. One of the pushbacks we'll get is, well, a lot of people don't want to make content about their company. And I'm like, okay, fair. But you know what? A certain percentage do.
Yeah.
And I think the younger your employee base is, it's a natural that, yeah, I'm at work. Yeah, I'm, I mean, it's part of what they do. What we also see is in a lot of cases, people are making content anyway, right?
Yeah.
So, I've got a pretty powerful content creation tool in my pocket when I go to work.
Yeah.
And I'm going to make content, and I think a lot of people are going to make content.
Yeah.
Don't you want to give them a framework, give them tools, encourage them, right? Yes, make content when you have time, and create a consistent brand look and feel, but with the authenticity of the creator, not just resharing canned corporate content.
Yeah. And that was like...
And I think that's the subtle difference that matters.
Yeah, I mean, people see through that, don't they? When it's those canned tweets that have clearly come from marketing, and that's not the genuine voice of the employee. And I also think that the culture of work is changing. Like, we are all marketers now for whatever organization we work for. And really, it says something if you're not proud of your employer in some way that maybe you need to figure out, right?
Well, and maybe your employee needs to figure out.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. There's something broken down in the relationship there. You mentioned Walmart earlier, and whenever I'm looking for topics and we're talking on Rockstar, I see you as a retail guru. I see you as my go-to retail guy, and I think we had a little bit of back and forth on LinkedIn the other day about retail. What's your view at the moment about retail, aside from employee? I mean, clearly employee-created content is going to be very important for them, but at the moment we're going through a bit of a tough time. Where do you see that?
Yeah, that is a great question. I'm like a lot of people that I think the honest answer to that is no one knows.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
We're going through various stages of reopening. My state is moving into what they're calling phase 2 of reopening tomorrow, which means restaurants can open with 50% capacity. Salons, I think the things left closed are bars and gyms, right? And so, what I think is there are, I actually published a blog post about this morning. I'll share that.
Yeah, I'll put that in the show notes. Thank you.
Sure. Talking about this exact thing, it is, there was a wonderful article in Slate yesterday, or maybe the day before, where they surveyed shoppers and they said, hey, how comfortable are you to do these various things? Get on an airplane, go to a movie, go to a restaurant, whatever.
Yeah.
Right? And there was a group of people who absolutely can't wait to go, and they're going to go, right? As you would expect. There's a group in the middle of, I'm not sure. I don't know.
Yeah.
We can kind of wait. And then there was an equal size group that, hell no, I'm not going, right? So retail is going to have to over communicate right now. How are you keeping me safe?
Yeah.
How are you making it easy to not have to have a lot of contact to shop?
Yeah.
What kinds of things are you doing? I think that there's demand. People want to they want to return to life as normal.
Yeah.
There will be different levels of comfort that retailers are going to have to help people with.
Yeah.
And you may have been following, some of the controversy of Costco here in the States.
Yeah.
They're requiring shoppers to wear masks.
Yeah.
Right. Their store, their thing, they can do that. Right.
Yeah.
Well, some people have gotten upset about that.
Right.
But they've communicated this clearly. If you come to Costco, we require you to wear a mask.
Yeah.
Right. My thinking is, there are going to be groups of people who go, forget you, Costco. This is terrible.
Yeah.
I don't want to do that. And they're not going to shop there.
Yeah.
Right. But there's going to be an equal number of people who go, wow, that makes me feel comfortable. Yeah. I'm going to go to Costco because, and Costco's doing that math but I think this is what we're going to see is all kinds of approaches.
Yeah.
And what I think retailers can do is help people understand what they're doing, especially locally. And shameless plug. This goes back to employee created content a little bit. Is what are you doing in your store to help reopen? Help get back to normal, but also help keep people safe.
Yeah. So you're seeing it as, because I was wondering, well, there's been a lot of discussion about this, about whether this is just hastening the decline of retail stores that was already in decline before, and now people are just going to never show up. So you're not seeing it like that. Because I also see shopping as two things. One is fulfillment of need, but also it's a leisure activity for a lot of people. So where do you sit on that?
Yeah, I think this accelerated what was already happening, I think, by about 5 years, right? So I think you're going to see a lot of retail go away that's just not sustainable, right? So you saw JCPenney recently declared bankruptcy. Pier 1, and I think we're going to see 40 to 50 retail bankruptcies probably within the rest of the year here.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of it is going to be mid-tier and niche retail that, to your point, might have been a little more on the entertainment side. But, people like Walmart, Asda, Target are going to thrive because you're going to see consolidation. Walmart, I don't remember what the exact numbers were, but I think Walmart picked up about 40% of the total retail volume when Toys R Us closed down.
Wow. Yeah.
Right? So imagine what happens to JCPenney and all that volume. It will aggregate. You'll create stronger retailers, right? But you'll also hasten, in March of this year, 1/3 of households in the United States used grocery pickup, right?
Yeah.
The month before that, it was less than 10%. So to your point, once I use grocery pickup, a fair number of those people are going to, why have I been into a grocery store? This is much more convenient. I'll do this. Maybe it was beyond my comfort, but that was easy.
So the consumer's been digitally transformed. So therefore, the retailer needs to follow. I think this is really interesting.
They were transformed by force, right? Because they had to. You had no choice. I mean, the option was there, but it definitely sped it up.
Yeah, I think this is a fascinating topic because also when you look at the shift in retail, is if JCPenney go, my knowledge of American malls is those are the cornerstone stores, and so if that then moves to the big boxes, what happens to the mall?
Yeah, well, I think malls are going to adapt as well. So we have a thriving mall a mile and a half from my home, and its massive anchors are Sears. I bet our Sears store at this mall, which by the way just closed, it closed before COVID. It was gone. I bet that's 300,000 square feet of space.
Wow.
And there's a Macy's there that I would imagine is going to get closed. It's probably another 100 to 150. So you're going to have close to 500,000 square feet of space in that mall. But that mall has been transforming to there's much more restaurants, right? There's a Starbucks. I expect that we're going to see things like Kumon, learning places, and even dentists and other things. So we can take our daughter to her math tutoring, and we can go have a glass of wine at the restaurant.
That sounds perfect. So they'll become more of an entertainment, the focus on the leisure activity of shopping rather than the fulfillment.
100%, and why? But also other stuff, right? You're seeing this rise now, and COVID created this. Of dark restaurants, or there's another name but it's basically a restaurant production center, and you may have several restaurants. So you might have a McDonald's and a Pizza Hut and whatever, but they don't serve any people. They're just there for delivery.
Yeah.
So it's just for the efficiency of food production and location for delivery.
Yeah.
I think you're going to see things like Whole Foods moving into some of these malls, where you've got more of an interactive shopping. I love to go to Whole Foods,
absolutely,
and just hang out, and have a beer and shop, and maybe get something fresh to eat, whatever. Right? Yeah. It's not a routine trip.
No.
So I think malls are going to be creative, but I think you'll just see a shift to people want to go and be together.
Yeah. Well, especially now, they'll be craving it.
Yeah. But I don't need to necessarily go to a place to get a pair of khakis.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially if you know what you like, and you can shout it at Alexa. You can just shout at Alexa, "Need new khakis," and it will know what to do.
Well, Alexa will take care of it. Right?
Yeah. So, and luckily we didn't have one in the room when I said it. Otherwise, both of us would be getting new khakis.
Well, and what's great about that is Alexa will be like, "Well, I've noticed you haven't been working out much lately, and you've been drinking a lot, so I'm going to order you a size up."
Fantastic. Well, I'm going to steer the conversation back to Rockstar CMO. I always enjoy talking to you about retail, so that's exciting. I hope the listeners enjoyed that too. But when we talked to you on Rockstar CMO, and you've written a number of articles for us, so when we did the Backstage Q&A, you chucked push marketing into the Rockstar CMO swimming pool. And now, just for the benefit of the listeners that aren't regular, the Rockstar CMO swimming pool is where we throw all the bullshit, snake oil, and everything we don't like about this industry and hope that it disappears. And you went for push marketing. Tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, so that's my personal that's my personal hate, and I just it's over.
Yeah.
Right. And I know that it's exciting because you have all this data now, right? Yeah. And you know that I looked at that I looked at a pair of shoes online, and then all of a sudden those shoes are stalking me everywhere I go, and they're in ads on my Facebook, and they're on my there's a funny cartoon that the cartoonist, the marketing, there's a man and a woman, and they're opening fortune cookies, and it says, "Your life could be fulfilled by the flat panel TV that you looked at recently." Like, come on, man, that's what it feels like.
Yeah.
And I just think that people will go on and on about the efficiency and the effectiveness and whatever. And I'm like, yeah, but it gets less efficient all the time. And marketers respond by just sending more messages to get the result. Yeah. I'm like, without regard for what that does to the user experience, right? Mm-hmm. Hey, Nike, I love your brand, right? And when I need Nikes, I know where to find them. Yeah. And I buy. I'm a bit of a sneakerhead, and I like really cool shoes. Yeah. And I buy all of my Nikes exclusively online now directly from Nike. Yeah. Right. And what's great about that for me and for Nike is no more bullshit. Right. So I don't have to have Foot Locker or somebody else in the middle of that conversation, and neither does Nike, right? So Nike knows my purchase habits, and I've noticed that their marketing has gotten fantastic, right? Yeah. So they don't bug me, but they know exactly roughly my frequency of purchase, right?
Yeah.
So I won't see Nike for a long time, and then all of a sudden on Instagram, I'll see the exact shoes that they know that I love. The exact kinds. I love the Nike 270. Yeah. And when they drop a new colorway, I start seeing, I'll start seeing them in my Insta feed, right? And every once in a while, I'll buy it, by the way, directly from the Insta feed. Yeah. They have first-party data. Yeah. They know what's in my closet. Yeah. They know all of this stuff, and they're being respectful of that.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Yeah.
Not like, hey, we've got sale on Nikes. Well, no shit. We got a sale every week on Nikes, you know?
Well, I get, I mean, for me, when I see brands in my Facebook feed, I get disappointed. It's like a Chinese water torture is what I think of that brand. You know, it's like, oh, not you! Don't you do this? You know what I mean? Like, and then at the moment, I'm doing some research in marketing technology, and now I've got vendors in my Facebook feed. I don't want vendors. I don't want marketing technology vendors in my Facebook feed. I'm in Facebook for a different purpose, and and you see these guys pop up. And you think, oh, what are you doing? You know, it's disappointing.
I couldn't agree more. And the thing is, why not just put content into my feed? I don't mind sponsored content, but sponsored sell me something is just, imagine if every TV commercial was like a Facebook brand ad, right?
Yeah.
Buy some shit now. And a lot of TV commercials are, but what about just informing and entertaining and being part of a conversation? Or even better, what about just publishing content that I could come across when I want to?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So this is back to your idea about a push marketing world.
Yeah.
Make content. I'll find it when I need it. I will come across it. I will engage with it. But the idea that you're going to give me an ad and some sequence of shit is going to happen is a bad idea. I mean, and yes, it will convert if you show it to enough people.
Yeah.
But what people don't measure is what brand damage is done in that process. Because I'm with you. I tune it out, and I think less of it is a brand.
Yeah, I mean, it's not the 0.5% that converts. It's the 99.95% that you're pissing off.
Yeah, exactly.
Potentially, yeah.
That should be a meme because that's the thing. And how much brand equity has been destroyed by the desperation of that process.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Amazon works because it's there, it's on, it's got the information that I need when I need it.
Yeah.
And it just makes it easy for me, not because it's telling me about a sale every third minute.
Yeah.
You know?
So it sounds like push marketing is still the hot thing we need to be chucking in the pool. Then there's no change there in the last, when was it? 2 years ago, I think we did the Q&A. So the passion still runs deep.
No, it's just and you're, I'm with you, Ian. I when I see it and it's really badly done, I'm just thinking, why? How is this happening? Yeah, and the other part of the problem too is it very often the parts of the marketing teams are not connected and communicating.
Yeah.
So you have an email team. What's their what do they? How do they make their money? What are they graded on? You know, it's the only rational reason. Maybe you have a better idea that I can get from why some brands I get an email literally every day and sometimes multiple times a day.
Yeah.
Right? And I don't know whose marketing brain thought, wow, that would be a really great idea for me to. And by the way, I don't see it because Google chucks it into my promotion box. But what someone has said is, well, we get a 0.1% of a return on that, so we're making money.
Yeah. So if we do it more. that is the rule of diminishing returns, isn't it? So we're pissing 99.5% of our audience off, but we'll just do it more. It's for the little 0.5%.
And you see it, and it just looks funny. I mean, anytime you want to have a laugh, go to your Google promotions folder, and type in a brand where you see, and you'll literally see this chunk of emails coming from, I don't know, Banana Republic or someplace. Yeah. And they're like, we have a sale. We have a bigger sale. Hey, guess what? We have a sale. No, you know what? Your shirt's on sale. I'm like, no shit. You have a sale. what my brain and every other consumer's brain does is say, why would I ever pay full price for something?
Yeah. I did. Yeah, I did an executive networking event, and I met somebody that ran a famous shirt brand here, and they've always got a sale on, constantly got a sale on. And I said to them, look, in my head, the price of your shirts is this, because they're never full price. So you've just completely undermined the value of your product.
And if I paid full price, I'd feel stupid.
Yeah.
Right. Like I would feel like I'm just being a dumb consumer.
Yeah.
I don't know if the situation is the same in the UK, but automakers in the US are now following this pattern, right?
Mm-hmm.
So all of these, I think about this with the pickup truck market, right?
Yeah.
So we like these big pickup trucks here, super big, and so they start out. This is the automakers. This is Ford and GM and Chrysler. Yeah. These are their cash cows, right? And they make lots of profit on these things.
Yeah.
So they start out at a fully appointed new GMC is $75,000, $80,000.
Yeah.
But within a few months of a new model launch, you'll see they're 10% off, and then they're 20% off, and all of a sudden you're getting like $25,000 off a pickup truck, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, so everybody who bought one for 80 is now worth 55, right? The moment I buy mine at 55, like I would be so pissed off. Maybe people have a lot of money or something, but But it's totally the model now, and they advertise. They advertise 20% off. I'm like, what the hell?
Yeah, absolutely.
And if your shirt experience, it's like, well, wait, the real price of that thing is X, not Y.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I could clearly talk to you all day, and this has been really fun. When our listeners spin the dial on the interwebs, where can they find you, John?
Photofy, Photofy.com. And I am Katahdin, Katadhin, on every social channel except Snapchat.
Yeah, and I'd love to. Just a quick one. Where did that name come from?
Katahdin is a big mountain in Maine. It's the end of the Appalachian Trail.
Yeah.
And it's a really beautiful place. I actually spell the name wrong on purpose.
Yeah.
There's a lot of superstition in mountain climbing and hiking, and I don't want to piss off any mountain gods.
Yeah.
And I go up and hike that thing every once in a while. But yeah, I've used it. I think that was my first email back in the day, and I've just used it since then.
I love it. Anyway, lovely to talk to you, John, and I'm glad we got to speak in person after collaborating for so long on Rockstar. And I look forward to speaking to you again.
Thanks, Ian. I really appreciate it.
Cheers, John. Bye-bye.
Have a great day.
Splendid. Thanks, John. Of course, I'll share all the links from our conversation in the show notes, including John's original Backstage interview with us, plus a link to a free download we've produced that discusses employee-created content called the Employee Amplifier. It's a new feature we're calling the Long Play. You can find the show notes at rockstarcmo.com/podcast. And what's this? A TikTok notification that Robert Rose, Chief Troublemaker for the Content Advisory, is in the virtual Rockstar CMO bar. I best go join him. So, Robert, good evening. What are you drinking?
Oh, my goodness gracious. It's great to be with you, my friend. This week, it's a mashup of two of my very favorite cocktails, and I'm calling it the Mexican Old Fashioned. And it's a fun drink. It's a spectacular extra anejo, which is a tequila, of course, a aged tequila. And then I mix that with a little agave nectar, a little Angostura bitters, which most people have in their bar, and then dipped in with, of course, what you have to have with a good old fashioned, an orange peel. and a little bit of a brandied cherry. So it's a lovely, lovely drink, much more old-fashioned than it is a tequila drink, but indeed a Mexican old-fashioned.
That sounds delicious. And last week you had bourbon and you've switched it out. That's nice. Anyway, so I'm going to have a look at making that. So what I've got here, I've got some Bombay Sapphire Gin. Is that similar?
Perfect. Yeah, it's a little bit similar to the Extranejo. Yeah, it's a little bit similar.
I knew I had good taste, right? And I've got some ice.
Yes,
is that an ice?
It is a rocks drink. Yeah, usually one rock would do, but if you have to have multiples, you go ahead.
All right, I got some ice in my gin, and then what did I need to mix with that?
If you've got a little Angostura bitters, agave nectar, and an orange peel and a brandy cherry is what you.
Let me see what I've got here. I've got some tonic. Hang on. Oh, I think that's fairly similar, isn't it? I mean,
yes, it sounds like it's just a good mirror image, really.
Let me try that. That is nice, Robert. Very nice.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
I'm going to drink more of those.
Yeah.
I do. And remind us, what was that called?
Very refreshing. Very refreshing.
It's delicious. Yeah. And what was that called?
That was called the Mexican Old Fashioned.
Well, I'm going to drink more of these. I tell you, a Mexican Old Fashioned. And why did you go for Mexican Old Fashioned?
You know, I it's one of those things where I am always trying to experiment with tequilas and how I can stretch the cocktails that I want to drink. And old fashions are one of my very favorites.
Yeah.
And I thought, I wonder if an old fashioned, basically a classic old fashioned, would work with tequila. Yeah. And sure enough, it does, as you can taste.
Yeah, yeah. I know we've just done a joke that I'm drinking a gin and tonic, but I love an old fashioned, and it's a Mad Men cliche, but I love an old fashioned. But I should try it with tequila because that sounds delicious, absolutely delicious. Well, we love having these cocktails at home, as we discussed before. Where in the world would we drink this one?
Well, I think there's only one great place to drink old fashions, and that's New York City. And so there are some great bars in New York City, which I miss dearly right now. Yeah. And having a great old fashioned, or even a Mexican old fashioned in New York City would be key right now.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, you and I have drunk in New York before. I think we were drinking martinis, if I remember rightly, but yes, I agree with you. Absolutely. And once we'd had a few of these and we're going back to the hotel, what thought would be left in my mind having a conversation with you at the bar?
You know, I think one of the biggest things that we've been focused on right now is figuring out, where your audience is right now. We have been, so many of us have done audience personas or buyer personas and really understand how to align the content we're creating to our buyer or audience journey. And I think one of the things that I would point to right now is laying over a lens of a different kind of segment, right? Even for some of the customers that you would normally put into the same persona group, there's a lens we should be looking at right now that says, we typically separate them into 4 groups, which is the, things are never going to be the same again.
Yeah.
The safe, what we call the safe but sane. Those are, people that are generally feeling okay, but they're definitely very conservative now and they're buckling down.
Yeah.
The third would be what we would call the normal or sort of life as usual or business as usual. And those are personas that, quite frankly, would most resemble what your normal persona is. And then the last one is what we call the YOLO, the you only live once, which are typically those that look to actively innovate in this kind of time of a crisis. And one of the interesting things is we often look at that as a great opportunity for new customers. But one of the things we have to understand is that our existing customers that are YOLOs may be looking to switch right now.
Yeah.
And so going at them with a different kind of story, a different kind of message may be the most prioritized thing we can do.
Yeah, yeah. And I think I love that because there's something I've written about as well is that we're also kind of changing our mind about where we sit in this thing, and everybody's going through their own journey, aren't they, of processing where they are right now, and we have to be very sensitive to that.
That's right. Absolutely. Yeah. And that's the real key is like, are we, if most of our audience right now is in that sort of things are never going to be the same again and they're buckling down, now is not the time to hit them with things like discounts and coupons and, and sales and buy now, because quite frankly, they're just not going to be very warm to that idea.
Well, it's splendid to spend some time with you, Robert. I look forward to when we're actually doing this for real.
Absolutely.
And I'll speak to you soon.
Absolutely. Cheers.
Thank you very much, Robert. Cheers. Thank you, Robert. Well, that's it. Another episode of Rockstar CMO FM in the can, pressed and ready for your podcasting jukebox. Thank you to our wonderful Rockstar CMO contributing community, to Robert and my guest this week, John Andrews. And thank you. Delighted you joined us. If you like what you heard, then please subscribe. We have some great guests in the schedule, and please drop us a rating in the podcasting platform of your choice. Next week, I'm going to be chatting to Andy Diderozzi, the shiny new head of marketing at Basecamp, a project management product that I'm sure many of you will be familiar with. Andy is the first head of marketing they've hired, so I think this will be an interesting conversation. As a reminder, you can find all the episodes, plus the show notes at rockstarcmo.com/podcast. I've been your host, Ian Truscott, founding editor of Rockstar CMO. I hope you stay safe and well, and you'll join us next week on Rockstar CMO FM.
You may know you're listening to this show along the Marketing Podcast Network, but did you know there are other great shows on MPN to help your business? Christy Heiler hosts a fantastic podcast called Own It. Christy, tell us more about the show.
Own It is all about celebrating women and non-binary advertising agency owners. We talk about buying out of the boys' club of advertising because less than 1% of ad agencies are owned by women.
And where can people subscribe?
You can find the podcast at untilyouownit.com. We're also on the Marketing Podcast Network at marketingpodcast.net. And of course, you can subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.
You heard her. Go subscribe. This podcast is heard along the Marketing Podcast Network. For more great marketing podcasts, visit marketingpodcasts.net.